I could feel the warmth building between us as his hands traced along my sides, the sound of waves crashing just beyond the rocks where we'd found shelter. The afternoon sun cast golden light across his skin as he moved closer, his breath warm against my neck. Anyone could see us, I whispered, but my body was already responding to his touch, arching toward him as his fingers found the sensitive spots that made me gasp. The risk only made it more intoxicating. His lips found mine, urgent and demanding, as the salty breeze carried our quiet sounds away with the ocean's rhythm. If this caught your attention already, take a second to like and subscribe. You won't want to miss where this beach encounter leads. I'd come to Santa Monica to clear my head, not to find myself tangled up with a stranger behind the rocks. But sometimes the best adventures are the ones you never plan for. The morning had started, innocently enough, just me, my book, and a secluded spot on the sand where I could escape the crowds. I'd chosen a quiet corner where the rocks created natural privacy, perfect for soaking up the California sun without dealing with tourists. That's when I saw him. Nathan emerged from the water like something out of a dream, droplets cascading down his chest, surfboard tucked under one arm. His dark hair was slicked back, and when our eyes met, something electric passed between us. He had that effortless confidence surfers seem to possess, moving with the kind of grace that comes from years of dancing with waves. Mind if I share this spot? His voice was deeper than I expected, with just a hint of that laid-back California drawl. Gets pretty crowded everywhere else. I glanced around at our perfectly isolated corner and smiled. Seems like there's room. He set his board against the rocks and settled onto the sand beside me, close enough that I caught the scent of salt water and something unmistakably masculine. I'm Nathan, he said, extending a hand that was warm and firm when I took it. Emma. The simple contact sent a little thrill through me that I tried to ignore. Great waves today? Perfect conditions. His eyes never left mine as he spoke. Sometimes you get lucky and everything just aligns perfectly. The way he said it made me wonder if he was still talking about surfing. There was something in his gaze, an intensity that made my pulse quicken. I found myself studying the way water droplets still clung to his shoulders, the definition of muscles earned through hours in the ocean. You're not from around here, he observed, settling back on his elbows. The position showed off his chest in a way that was definitely not accidental, just passing through, I admitted. Needed to get away from everything for a while. Sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what you need. His fingers traced patterns in the sand between us, casual movements that somehow felt deliberate. What brought you to my stretch of beach? Your stretch? I laughed, but there was something possessive in the way he said it that sent warmth pooling in my stomach. I was looking for somewhere quiet. Then you found the right spot. He moved closer, ostensibly to adjust his position in the shade, but now his thigh was almost touching mine. I come here when I want to be alone with my thoughts. And now you're sharing it with a stranger. Some strangers are worth sharing with. The way his eyes lingered on my lips made it clear we weren't just talking about beach real estate anymore. The afternoon heat seemed to intensify, or maybe it was just the electricity building between us. When he reached over to brush a strand of hair from my face, his fingers lingered against my cheek longer than necessary. You're beautiful, he said simply, without the practiced smoothness I might have expected. There was something genuine in his voice that made my breath catch. Before I could respond, his mouth was on mine. The kiss was soft at first, testing, but when I didn't pull away, it deepened. His lips tasted like salt and possibility, and I found myself leaning into him, my hands finding the solid warmth of his chest. Is this crazy? I whispered against his mouth when we broke apart. The best things usually are. His hands settled on my waist, thumbs tracing small circles that sent shivers through me despite the heat. But we should probably move somewhere, more private. He was right. Even in our secluded spot, we were still on a public beach. But before I could overthink it, he was pulling me to my feet, leading me behind the larger rocks where the sand formed a natural alcove, hidden from view, but still open to the sky above. Better? He asked, but he was already answering his own question by pressing me gently back against the smooth stone, his body creating a shield between me and the rest of the world. This time when he kissed me, there was nothing tentative about it. His mouth moved with purpose, one hand tangling in my hair while the other traced the line of my collarbone. I could feel the heat of his skin through my thin cover-up, could taste the ocean on his lips. My hands explored the expanse of his back, feeling muscles shift beneath my palms as he moved closer. The contrast between his sun-warmed skin and the cool stone behind me sent electricity through every nerve ending. Tell me to stop, he murmured against my throat, his voice rough with restraint. Instead, I pulled him closer. Don't you dare. That was all the permission he needed. His hands found the ties of my cover-up, fingers working with surprising gentleness given the urgency I could feel radiating from him. The fabric fell away, leaving me exposed to both his gaze and the ocean breeze. You're incredible, he breathed, and the reverence in his voice made me feel powerful and desired in a way I'd never experienced before. When his mouth followed the path his hands had traced, I couldn't contain the soft sound that escaped me. He took his time, seeming to memorize every response, every place that made me arch against him. The sound of waves provided a rhythm that we instinctively matched as we moved together. His touch was confident but never demanding, always checking, always making sure I was with him every step of the way. "Here?" he asked when we reached the point where there was no going back, his forehead resting against mine as we both breathed, heavily. "Here," I confirmed, and then we were moving together, finding our rhythm against the backdrop of ocean and sky. The sensation was overwhelming, the heat of the sun on our skin, the sound of waves masking our quiet gasps, the thrill of being hidden yet still so exposed. Every movement sent waves of pleasure through me, building steadily like the tide. Nathan's eyes never left mine, and I could see my own wonder reflected back at me. This was madness, but it was the most alive I'd felt in months. The way he moved, with me, the way our bodies seemed to understand each other without words. It was like we'd been choreographing this dance our whole lives. The tension built between us, steady and relentless as the ocean itself. When the release finally crashed over me, it was with the same power as the waves beyond our hiding place. I felt Nathan follow moments later, his body trembling against mine as he whispered my name like a prayer. We stayed pressed together for long moments afterward, both of us trying to catch our breath and process what had just happened. The afternoon sun had shifted, casting new shadows across our hidden alcove. That was... I started, then trailed off, not sure how to finish the sentence. "Unexpected," he supplied, pressing a soft kiss to my temple. "But perfect." We dressed, slowly, reluctant to break the spell that had settled over us. As we prepared to rejoin the world, Nathan caught my hand. "I don't want this to be just a beach encounter," he said, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Can I see you again?" Before I could answer, voices echoed from somewhere nearby, other beachgoers getting closer to our secret spot. We both froze, reality crashing back over us like a cold wave. "I should go," I whispered, even though every part of me wanted to stay in this perfect bubble we'd created. He nodded reluctantly, understanding the spell was broken. "At least tell me where you're staying." I hesitated, part of me wanting to preserve the magic of this moment exactly as it was. "The Ocean View Hotel," I finally admitted. "Room 237. His smile told me he'd remember that information. We gathered our things and made our way back to the main beach separately, trying to look casual despite the fact that anyone looking closely might notice our flushed skin and tousled hair. That evening, I found myself replaying every moment of our encounter. The way his hands had felt on my skin, the intensity in his eyes, the perfect synchronization of our bodies moving together. I'd come to the beach to clear my head, but instead I'd found something I hadn't even known I was looking for. I half expected a knock on my hotel room door, but it never came. Maybe Nathan was having second thoughts, or maybe he was giving me space to process what had happened between us. Either way, I spent the night wondering if I'd imagined the connection I'd felt, or if it had been as real for him as it was for me. The next morning I woke to find a note slipped under my door. My heart raced as I unfolded the paper, recognizing the masculine handwriting from the brief glimpse I'd had of his signature in the sand. "Emma, last night I couldn't stop thinking about the way you felt in my arms, the sounds you made when I touched you exactly right. If you're brave enough to let yesterday happen again, meet me at our rocks at sunset. If not, I'll understand, but I hope you know that what we shared wasn't just about the moment, it was about finding someone who makes you feel alive. Annie." Read the note 3 times, my pulse quickening with each pass. The memory of his touch came flooding back, the way his hands had mapped my body like he was memorizing a treasure map, the rhythm we'd found together that felt as natural as breathing. The days stretched endlessly ahead of me. I tried to distract myself with tourist activities, but everywhere I went, I found myself thinking about Nathan, about the way he'd looked at me like I was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen, about the careful way he'd touched me, as if I was precious, about the intensity that had burned between us like fire meeting gasoline. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, I found myself walking back toward that stretch of beach, my heart hammering against my ribs. I told myself I was just going to look, to see if he was really there, but deep down I knew I'd already made my decision the moment I read his note. He was waiting, silhouetted against the orange and pink sky, and when he saw me approaching, his smile could have powered the entire city. This time there was no hesitation. I walked straight into his arms, and when our lips met, it felt like coming home. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he murmured against my mouth. "I wasn't sure either," I admitted. But I couldn't stop thinking about yesterday. Neither could I. His hands framed my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones as he studied my expression. "I meant what I wrote. This isn't just about attraction, Emma. There's something between us that I don't want to waste." The sincerity in his voice made my chest tight with emotion. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that maybe some chances are worth taking, even when they scare you." He pulled me closer, until I could feel the steady beat of his heart against my chest. "I'm saying that I want to find out what this could become. This time, when we moved together behind our protective wall of rocks, it was different. Still passionate, still urgent, but layered with something deeper. The knowledge that this wasn't just a moment stolen from time, but the beginning of something that could grow into more. Nathan took even more care with me this time, his hands and mouth, mapping every inch of my skin with reverent attention. When he finally joined with me, it was with a tenderness that brought tears to my eyes. "You're shaking," he whispered, stilling his movements to check on me. In the best way, I assured him, pulling him deeper. Don't stop. We moved together. As the sun painted the sky in brilliant shades of gold and crimson, our bodies finding that perfect rhythm again. This time, when the waves of pleasure crashed over us, they carried with them the promise of tomorrow, and all the tomorrows that might follow. Later, as we lay tangled together on the sand, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky, Nathan traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. So what happens now? I asked, voicing the question that had been building in my chest. Now we figure it out as we go, he said simply. I don't have all the answers, Emma, but I know I don't want this to end here. Even though I live 3,000 miles away, especially because of that, he turned to face me fully, his expression serious. Easy things aren't usually worth having. You're worth the complications. As I looked into his eyes, seeing my own hope reflected back at me, I realized he was right. Some connections are worth fighting for, worth rearranging your life for, worth taking the kind of risks that terrify and exhilarate you in equal measure. Okay, I whispered, the word carrying more weight than any I'd ever spoken. Okay, let's figure it out as we go. His kiss tasted like salt air and new beginnings, like the kind of adventure I'd come to the beach looking for without even knowing it. And as the waves continued their eternal rhythm beside us, I couldn't help but think that sometimes the best journeys start with a single, spontaneous yes. Have you ever had a moment that changed everything? One decision that led to an adventure you never saw coming? Would you have been brave enough to say yes to a stranger on the beach, or would caution have held you back? I want to know what drives you to take those leap of faith moments. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and love hearing your stories. Don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe so you never miss the next wild adventure. Turn on those notifications because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.